Well, good morning. It's Saturday morning, and this is the asana aspect of the weekend that Rod and I have put together. And so today I'm going to be teaching asana, and it's going to be a little bit different than the normal approach that I do, because normally we're using the rational mind and we're working on the physical aspect of the asana almost 100%, as opposed to today, I'm going to introduce the asana from the physical point of view, and then go ahead at the same time, or after I introduce it physically, then I'm going to talk about the psychic aspect of it, the psychic being aspect of it, how this is an evolution that we're going through, the poses are designed to heal the body, but at the same time, they're designed to evolve the soul. And so when we start to bring those together, then we have nature working in conjunction with spirit. And so this is what we're really looking for. So we're going from the rational mind, and we're going to be working much more, or as well as with the psychic being, that psychic aspect of our brain, right? So we have, most of the time we're doing left brain when we're doing our asana, that it's got to be done a certain way, and this is what I expect. And now we're also switching to the right brain, which is much more intuitive. And that's what we're looking for, so that the body is joined in this evolution, rather than traditionally in the past, the body's been discarded and not validated. So what we want to do is we want to have a valid approach to using the body and allowing that to help us get to the psychic being more. All right. So our very first pose that I want to do is, I'm going to adjust here so you can see, it's Supta Tadasana. And so I'm going to go through, and unfortunately, there's not an unfortunate at all. I'm going to be moving around a bit, and so I don't mean to confuse you. And I'll try to keep my eye on what you can see. And so as we record here, you actually don't miss out, because I lost the ball. Right. Okay, so what I'd like you to do first is you put your sticky mat. I'd like it right at the wall. So let me turn the computer and get it so you can see me there, and a little bit more. Right. So sit, put your feet right at the wall, right at the wall. So I want your feet to be on the wall so that you're actually feeling as if you're standing on the floor. So as much as we don't have weight here, I would like this to be, there's a consciousness here that I'm looking for you to start to experience, an awareness. So as I lay down, I want to start off with my feet being grounded at the wall, being balanced, big toe on the wall, little toe, center of the heel. Traveling up my body towards my head, that I feel both the buttocks, right buttocks, left buttocks on the floor, and then my shoulder blades on the floor. Arms out to the side, palms up, right? And so, and now what I'd like you to do, as you're here, as you settle into this, I would like the kneecaps lifted, the back of the knees pressing to the floor, just so that we start to get the dynamics of this pose, right? So this is this active aspect that we're doing, right? So as we're here, the kneecaps will lift, the whole torso elongates, and just feel this, because this is a setup for where we're going to go when we come to standing. I would like you to be able to feel this standing, this alignment when we stand. And lay for a few minutes, a few seconds, and breathe. Let yourself settle. Now the silence. Repeat. Into the body. right? Allow the silence, allow that ease and inactivity, peace to come into your body. So as I'm here, as you're here, now we've got the physical alignment. Now let yourself settle and allow peace, allow that absolute silence, that inactivity. And this is a surrender. All the psychic aspects of the postures will be surrendering to allow the energy to move. And then your legs. Roll yourself to the side. Let the right elbow be a pillow for a moment so that you don't hurt your neck. And then pushing off with the left hand, bring yourself up. And then come back. And so from here, now, coming back, adjusting the computer, adjusting the screen. What I'd like you to do is I want you to come to a kneeling position. Knees together, heels together, right? So this is child's pose. So to begin with, there's a verticality happening, but this is just a setup to get ourselves grounded so we feel the earth energy coming up through our feet, through our heels. And then from here, you're gonna walk the hands forward, walk the hands forward. And as we walk forward and the abdominal comes to the thighs, and then with the arms active out in front, we release the head. So the head touching the floor is not at all of concern. I'm looking for the buttocks to stay on the heels as much as you can, and then release the head down. So this is the activeness. This is the ABCs of the pose, the way I normally teach it. And then, now, we're looking for inequality, allowing inequality, asamar, samatana. Head down, just allow. So we're surrendering in the pose, and so we've gone from the rational to the intuitive. And there's a blend of both. It's not either or. So, and then let your arms relax. Let the head come down even more if possible. Pay attention to your breath. Make sure that there's a continued full breath.
And inhale, raise the head, and bring yourself up. So I know this is a bit different than we're used to, but it's very interesting. As I've been practicing more this way, there's a recognition that an experience that I've had in this is that as I go from the rational, as I head towards the intuitive part of it, and allow silence and peace to come, there's a sense that the body disappears, that it doesn't get lost, but it's no longer dominant. It's spirit coming down that I become more and more aware of. So now we're going to go from child's pose, and we're going to come, so the first setup, the first Supta Tadasana, now we're coming to the regular Tadasana, the standing Tadasana. So, and I'll step back so you can see me. There we go. And I have to project my voice. So Tadasana is interesting. Right, I'll stand to the side so you can see the verticality that I'd like you to try to establish. So imagine that floor was at my back. My heels are touching the floor, my buttocks is touching the floor, my shoulders are touching the floor, and I'm looking for that balance. Hands are facing the side, right? Kneecaps lifting again, and so I'm looking for the top of my head, my shoulders, my hips, my knees, my ankles to be vertical in a line. Right, and as we're here, Tadasana is very interesting. So I'm going to come back and observe you for a moment as you're doing the pose. So stay in Tadasana, stay there, and I want to describe. I want to share with you that Tadasana is interesting in that Tad has converted, or is a conversion from tat, that absolute. So it's the divine that we're experiencing as we're more and more vertical, and as we allow that psychic being to come into us more, that we open to it more, right? So you really have to step back from that activeness that we normally do, make all the muscles work and everything. So yes, I've given you all these directions, but at the same time, as you settle into this, allow yourself to just try to, I'll say, be one with the posture. And I've started to feel that a little bit, and it sounds a little trite, but can you become that Tadasana? Can you allow the absolute to descend, right? Because the energy that what we're working with is we're working with an allowing, and we're invocating, we're asking for this energy to come into us. Breathing. I'll come back again. Now, I've heard that as I've asked, in teaching it in the past, I've asked and heard from students that there was a restlessness in the Tadasana. It was like, I didn't want to stand here anymore. I didn't want to do this anymore. Given that your body works well and that you don't have any injuries, then standing vertical for 3, 4, 5 minutes is an effort only to the mind, because the mind does not want to relax, does not want to allow that divine entry. So we're quieting the mind so that we can access higher aspects of the mind. Can you close your eyes here for a moment? If you lose your balance, closing your eyes, please don't. But close the eyes if you can, and take yourself inside and allow that to descend. And relax. Release the pose. I ask you now to come, and I'll turn sideways for Uttanasana, right? So it's this upper liberation that we're shooting for. And so Uttanasana is a direct, I'm going to say a direct assault. I'm going to call it that. And why am I calling that? Because as I fold forward, yes, I know my head is cut off, but it's now not cut off. So Uttanasana, hands on your hips, Tadasana, feet absolutely square, firm, legs active, and then fold yourself forward, fold, fold, fold forward. So what's very interesting here is now, so this is the rational approach to this. The kneecaps are lifted, but now, my golly, my hamstrings are in the way. They represent, it's a wonderful representation of the difficulties of the dark forces, the evil that we contend with, that we have to fight through, that we have to constantly be aware of, that we're trying to allow our higher self to abdicate, to get rid of, right? And as best you can, you'll allow yourself. So with the legs active, so the whole physical aspect, but once I'm here, once again, my head is going down and allowing that energy to release from my head. And consciously ask for the silence, for the peace. Allow that to come in. As best you can, you want to hold the pose and breathe. Breathe. If you can't, if it's very, very difficult for you, you could bring yourself up, you could support yourself, you could put your hands on a chair if required, right? If you have the ability, let yourself, and see if you can't relate to the difficulty that the hamstrings give us. I'm going to stay about another minute. If it's too much for you, please come out, take a break. And inhale, bring yourself up. Let yourself relax for a moment. So the hamstrings, I talked about the evil forces, the darkness. The hamstrings are a great representation of our lower self. They bind us to the lower self.
So we reduce the
So, and as we're being bound, then we're able to release the upper body, the upper self, the higher self. Right. All right. So now the fifth pose is Utkatasana. So it's a standing pose. I'll turn to the side so you can see it again. And so here I am, my feet are hip width apart. You can't quite see that, but it's not necessary at the moment. So we start off in that Tadasana position. Legs are straight. Inhale, and on an exhalation, the arms are coming forward, the arms are coming as vertical as you can. So once again, the hands would like to be aligned with the shoulders, hips, knees, ankles. So I'm here lifting my shoulder blades, and then I'm exhaling and bending my knees. So there's this pose is a wonderful, it's reaching up, it's an aspirational pose as we're here, lifting. So admittedly, it's difficult. So immediately I'll ask you to allow the psychic self to come into play here. So look for this, not find it, allow the silence. Looking for it, no, we're allowing the silence. It's always there. And come on up if you haven't already. Right. So my experience with that right then was as I was holding the pose, I recognized that I almost forgot that I was in my body doing an asana. It was, my focus was much more on allowing the descent of the prana shakti, that higher energy that's coming down, that's transformational. And I actually got to this place of course, I knew my legs were working and having to work, but at the same time, I was able to let go to the point, surrender to the point that my body started to disappear. I mean, just little glimpses of disappearance, little flecks of it, but still moving in that direction, quite different than how hard can I work my body? How much can I make myself sweat in a pose? So as we're in these poses, as we're bringing in the psychic aspect, what we're doing is we're liberating the mind. And it's like we have a prayer that I would like to open myself up to this psychic energy. And in so doing, as the will is what is required. So it's kind of like we're praying to do this. If we could equate prayer to will, that the will is, and in yogic technology, yogic terminology, the will is equated with Agni, right? The fire generating this. So it's like, all right, can we talk to Agni? Can we be open to that and allow our psychic being to blossom more, for us to become more and more aware of everything that's already there? That's the wonderful thing. It's already there. How can we find it? We have to recognize at some point, we have to recognize that we have to have an aspiration. We have to have a desire to go there. And so if it doesn't make any sense to you, then doing asana like this is like, this guy's out of his mind. What are we doing? So admittedly, all of that's true, but you know, my intention is to bring in higher aspects of myself. Our sixth pose, Adho Mukha Svanasana. So this is the downward face pose. And with it is an aspect of peace, shanti. So I'll turn my camera way down. I'll step back. And I'll do this from the side in case you're not totally familiar with the pose. Right? So the structure of the pose, I would like to have my hands directly under my shoulders, arms vertical, and then step the knees back a bit, turn the toes under, and to begin with, we can lift ourselves up, ribs on thighs, arms active, and then with the ears between the shoulders, between the biceps, and I'm gonna straighten my legs, and exhale, and take my heels down. So this is a passive aspect of a pose, right? And with the passive aspect, it's peace, it's shanti. That's what we're looking at, that's what we're allowing, that peace to descend. So the mechanics of it I've described. And now, allow the psychic being, your higher self, to come in. And I find the more I can release and allow that surrender, the easier the pose becomes. As I'm here, yes, my muscles are working, but there's a sense of ease that is attained. And bend the knees and come on down. And just take a small break and drop yourself back to child's pose. Just to allow the body to relax. I'm coming back to look at you. Our next pose is Urdhva Mukha. So it's upward and it's active. So this is the Shakti now. This is this divine, we could call it Prana Shakti, that we're allowing to come in. And as this happens, as we have this chest lifting, I'll demonstrate it in a moment, but we have virya, which is our character ascending. So not only are we allowing this energy to come down, or we're receptive to that, but at the same time, our character, who we are, is ascending, and it's ascending to the superconscient plane. It's going that way. So it's a very dynamic, right? And so this up and down, so we could talk about the down facing pose that we just did, and we can talk about the upward face that I'm just ready to do, and realize that there's a flow of energy. It's almost like breathing in and breathing out that is going on. So please watch Now watch the Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, the face upward. So this is active. Start off in the very same way that we did before. Arms straight, hands directly under the shoulders, knees back, and then from here, now I can come back, and an easy way to do it is I'll do a tall push-up, and then from here, I can take the top of my feet to the floor, one at a time, and then drag myself forward, and here I am in Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, face upward, active, and with that Shakti coming in. And come on out. Take yourself back to Urdhva Mukha, just to release, lengthen your spine, and then bend the knees again and rest one more time in the child's pose. You might want to try the child's pose with the knees a little wider. It goes into the upper back, as opposed to the knees together goes in the lower back. And in this case, buttocks on my heels, and easily my forehead comes down. And whether yours does or not, doesn't matter. It's a surrender into every bit of it. Every bit of it. All right. So we have that pulsation that was just going on in the Urdhva and the Adho. Right? The upward and the downward. All right. So now, I'd like you to sit on your heels, and let me bring it so that you can see. So I'm going to ask that. I'll turn backwards so you look at my backside for a moment. But you see that my feet are together, my knees are together, and I'm going to come back. And what I can do at the same time is I can reach behind the calves, and I can take the calves and spin them out a bit, so it gives a little bit more room. If this is too difficult for you to sit like this, then see if you can't modify. And I've got a blanket here, and this blanket represents one blanket, it represents 5 blankets. It doesn't matter. I don't care if, in fact, it takes 5 blankets so that you can get this far. 5 blankets so you can get this far. Doesn't matter at all. But if you need something to support it, because the posture is well worth it, right? And the meaning of this is it's a weapon. It's a lightning bolt of Indra. So it's liberating our consciousness from the ignorance. And we're constantly surrounded in the world of duality. We have ignorance and we have wisdom. And we're constantly surrounded by this ignorance, but we don't have to participate in it. As we evolve, then we can let that ignorance go more and more. So sit as vertical as you can. If you can sit without a blanket, wonderful. So the activity of it, though, the heels want to be brought together. So there's a consistent, if I'm just talking about a rational point of view here, then we're consistently in the heels, we're consistently in the thighs. But once we get to this point, then now we're becoming much more passive, if you will. We're able to settle down. We're able to allow that energy to ascend and descend in our body easily here. So all of the postures ideally become comfortable. Asana means comfortable seat. And can we establish that comfortableness. If we need the props, if we need anything to get so that you can get close to this, is what I'm asking for you to strive for.
Yes, talking.
Hmm?
Yes, talking. More peace. Asana is the stillness of stone.
So as we're here, try to see if you can realize that this pose, the name of the Vajra, is the stillness of stone. So it doesn't move at all. As you're here in this pose, allow that surrender, allow everything to go. And inhale, raise your head, open your eyes. Our ninth pose, excuse me talking to you with my head not fully in the screen. The ninth pose is Paschimottanasana. So this is a noose used by Varuna and Ganesh so these are the deities, the gods. They bind the evil forces. And so I think this is one of the neatest poses because I had not understood it exactly like that until Rod had pointed this out to me. So we'll sit and I'll sit so that you can see me here sideways. All right, so you're seated on the floor. Ideally, you would have some little bit under your buttocks so that the pelvis will tilt just a little bit. Right, legs are out, feet are together. Now, to begin with, so here we are. We're vertical again, and the energy is in both directions moving for us. We're still allowing that peace, that shanti to descend, and we have the shakti as well, that energy ascending. So, Paschimottanasana, the noose. Where is the noose? The noose is, as we come around, and I love it, the noose is around my feet. So that's the figurative what we want, but the deities, the gods, are surrounding the dark forces so that they can quell their energy to allow the light to descend on us. And as best you can. So once again here now, if you need something and you can't sit like that, then the options are you could sit on a block, doesn't matter, don't worry, you can't get too high. Sit on a block, and if you can, you really want to have the chest touching the thighs. And so chest touching the thighs, we can do it with a blanket here and bring ourselves down. Chest touching the thigh. Here.
Yeah, probably.
And inhale and come on up. So it's interesting that as I was able to establish the noose, and I'm noticing that we're pretty dark here. I hope you're going to be able to see this. As I was able to work with the noose and work it more and more and surrender more and more, soon my chest actually came down. I was able to put my head on my shins, and it was like, I would like to think that, oh, we lassoed a lot of the dark forces and got them out of the way and was able to release and even surrender more, right? So the dark forces are all the things that get in our way. That's all of our passions, all the things, our desires, all those kind of things. When we won't take care of other people, or we have any kind of difficulty like that, it's like we're trying to take care of each other. And when that's not happening, we want to try to remove that energy, those forces from our adara, from our what? From our mind. Thank you. All right. So now this lasso is also in Paschimottanasana. I think it's quite interesting that the lasso is used by Yama, the god of death, and it binds evil and it liberates the soul. So this liberation of the soul really is what we're after. The liberation of the soul can happen through yoga or at death. So our purpose in integral yoga, the yoga of Sri Aurobindo, is to actually liberate the soul before we die. So it's liberated when we die, but if we can liberate it while we're still alive, we have a hugely better chance of a very, very beneficial reincarnation. Our final pose is Shavasana. And as I just described, at death or through yoga. So now Shavasana being the corpse pose, that liberated soul rises out of the body at death. So right now, we'll lay on our back, and I would like you to get, I'll demonstrate how I like to see people do Shavasana. And so we start off with bent knees around our buttocks, our hands are behind us. We're walking our hands back to the elbows. Lengthen the spine out. So round your spine onto the floor, right? And then once you feel like your shoulders are firmly on the floor and you're balanced, the buttocks is equal, that you don't have weight on one side or the other, then one leg at a time stretches out, and then the arms can come out to the side. And I've got a wall right here, so I can't quite do that, but at least you can see it on this side, right? And so from here, the glasses go on your chest at this point, because we're totally drawing ourselves in. We're totally acting like the corpse and allowing that energy to descend, allowing the purification that we've established through the poses already to continue.
And allow the same being to ascend.
Repeat.
Allow the same being to ascend.
And allow the psychic being to ascend here.
psychic being is liberated from the lower self and united with the higher self.
So the more you can allow yourself to relax, the lower being is liberated and ascending towards the higher self. So see if you can't just let everything relax, and with that intention in mind, your will, you're directing, you're asking, allowing the psychic being to manifest. Come on out, roll to the side, come up, that's it, and sit, cross-legged, hands to Namaskar Mudra. I thank you for attending. It's been a pleasure. Namaste. Bye.